It is all happening. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And of course, before we get into this video, I just want to remind anybody who is looking to buy one of my ugly knitted Christmas sweaters, there are 3 available, that if you want this before Christmas, if you want one delivered before Christmas, the cutoff for doing so is November 10th. After that, they will still definitely be available on the website. I just can't guarantee delivery before Christmas if you order after that date. So just like a PSA about that. Also, of course, this video isn't sponsored, but if you do want to support my channel, you can buy some of my weird merch, or you can support my tea company, Lions Tea Exchange. I will link it in the description box. I have a ton of these wooden gift boxes that I would like for you all to buy as Christmas gifts, so go look at them. Thank you. Now, we will be returning to our regularly, that's really hard to say. Regularly scheduled programming tomorrow or Thursday, but I figured I hadn't sort of done one of these sit down talk to you all videos in a little while, and I wanted to do that today with relation to the election because for those of you who don't know, which I'm assuming is probably none of you, today is the federal election in the United States. Also, I just don't feel like doing a ton of editing, so, you know, there's that. Don't judge me. Some of you have probably noticed that I have moved away from posting very overtly political content over the last little while, and that's for a couple reasons, but largely because I'm really burned out on all of this, and although it's very clear where I stand politically, I do like covering other topics and talking about things that are not quite so heavy. And so with that in mind, I really backed and forth and debated on whether or not I wanted to weigh in on this specific election, but also what's been going on just generally socially and politically in the United States. And besides being really burned out, one of the primary reasons I shy away typically from commenting, and have been shying away lately, is because I feel really conflicted about what happens next and where we go from here. And I think you guys know this, I don't sort of like commenting on things if I don't have a definitive viewpoint, if I don't have a definitive answer, and I don't really know what to make of a lot of what's going on. On the one hand, you have a group of people who are arguing that this election will fundamentally change the trajectory of the country, and on the other hand, you have a group of people who kind of just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, life will go on. And I can see merit to both sides of the conversation. Life does go on, and it will go on. And humanity has this kind of remarkable ability, actually, of just bouncing back again and again and again, and making its way through adversity, even if sometimes it takes a little bit of muddling to get through. On the other side, however, I can see why people feel like this particular election is so important, and why it's going to have very far-reaching consequences in either direction, not only for the United States, obviously, but also around the world. And I think where I personally struggle with this comes from the fact that I am naturally a life goes on kind of person, and yet I have to remind myself that even when empires crumble or countries start on a downward trajectory, there's always a catalyst. There's always a specific event or a series of events that start that process. And so obviously there's this huge part of me that's like, is that what we're looking at? Is that what's happening here? Is that what this particular election is? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if this election really will be the one that changes the game, or if it's just the same as every other election where people say that this is the one that's going to be the life-changing event. This is going to be the one that starts America down whatever road it might be. I don't know. I don't have the answers. So I don't know if I'm alone in this, but this is why I feel this tremendous sense of internal conflict, because I inherently want for things to be okay, but by the same token, I feel really nervous about what's to come and what we can expect on the horizon. What I do know for certain is that the path that we are currently on, not only in America, but just in the West generally, is overall not a good one, and we really do need a course correct. It's kind of funny because I actually made a video about basically this topic back in 2020, where I talked about how I had had enough of progressivism and its infection, how it was infecting everything. I talked about how, leftists were ripping down statues, how people in specific states were being exposed to legislation and regulation and whatnot that just simply didn't benefit the general population and was rather for the benefit of politicians alone. And I kind of just laid all these things out and arrived at the conclusion that I was just over it. And I'm still over those things. I'm still sick of these things. And when I rewatched that video, I realized that not a lot had changed, and if anything, in some areas, things have only gotten worse. The political divide is greater than ever. The anger and vitriol being spewed out in all directions is worse than ever. The mainstream media seems to be the most biased that it's ever been. And I don't know, it's like this anti-American sentiment has become so commonplace that when you are patriotic towards the United States particularly, people almost shame you for it. They look down on you for loving the place that you're from. And I can't reconcile that. The problem with all of this too is that there is this huge disconnect between who I will describe as the politically active class and regular everyday Americans. The politically active class, particularly those on the left, will argue things like the single most important thing is respecting someone's pronouns and ensuring pronouns are respected. They preference things like allowing children to cut off healthy tissue from their bodies and inject themselves with cross-sex hormones before the age of 18. They insist that everybody must be judged and valued based on immutable characteristics like sex and skin color and things that don't make any tangible difference to who you are as an individual and a person. They focus on things like sensitivity training and supporting the LGBT community to the exclusion of all others, and they spend an inordinate amount of time, honestly, shaming people if their forefathers just so happen to be of European descent. That one's really fun. Meanwhile, people in Middle America just want to be able to put petrol in their cars and afford to pay for groceries. They're counting their dollars while the people on university campuses are rioting for Palestine. And I find this disconnect so jarring and so upsetting, especially when I realize that this latter group, this university-obsessed, twerpy, arrogant, annoying class of people, end up dictating what Middle America does. I can't stand this. I can't stand it at all. I really do find the indifference towards people living in small towns across America to be really quite staggering. And, you know, on that front too, it actually makes a lot of sense to me why those people, the people living in these small towns, don't care about broader political issues and sentiments. Why would these people ever dream of investing personal energy into giving a crap about foreign wars when they're living paycheck to paycheck? So I think that's why I find the screeching of progressives to just be so hollow. They don't really care at all about broader America, and honestly, they're not even remotely representative of broader America, which is, again, a really weird thing to consider when you realize that somehow, despite these two factors, they've gotten their creepy little fingers into basically every institution in the country. The irony is that the side that has traditionally been known for having a preoccupation with the most vulnerable in society has in fact turned on them. And now they seemingly focus all of their energy and attention on shaming them and making fun of them, especially for not being in ideological alignment. This is also why I am partially so mad at women in particular, who are insisting that they're voting for Kamala to protect women's freedoms and rights, and yet are supportive of young women cutting their breasts off or taking cross-sex hormones. These are the same women who will scream about wanting their freedoms protected, but then will yell at other women who say that we don't want men in our bathrooms or prisons or in locker rooms or around vulnerable women. Again, this group of people, this group of women will scream at the top of their lungs about women's rights and protecting women and women's safety, and yet then they'll go and vote for candidate and for leadership who has allowed and will continue to allow millions of illegal immigrants to just stream across the border. And then when people are inevitably hurt by these policies, they turn around and gaslight us. And I hate using that word because I know it's been co-opted by the weirdos on TikTok, but they will actually gaslight us and tell us that none of this is happening. The gaslighting is just another part of this that I honestly can't stand. The insistence that things that are happening right in front of our faces aren't actually happening. Or if they are, they're not that bad. There are obviously a ton of other things that I could say here about all of this. I really don't want to be a broken record, and I think that's probably why I don't weigh in as much as I used to, because I feel like I'm going mad saying the same things over and over and over again. I feel like it's Groundhog Day, and the same things keep happening over and over and over again, and as much as everything changes, everything stays the same. So I suppose I'm making this video as a little bit of catharsis for myself to articulate some of my viewpoints and thoughts. And believe me, I have a lot. There are a lot more than just this. But it's also to let the rest of you know, if you feel similarly, that you're not going crazy and you're not mad for noticing how silly and stupid and also challenging everything has gotten, particularly over the last number of years. And for those of you who are similarly burned out on all of this like I am, I will not judge you for feeling done, for just wanting this election to be over, for just wanting this period of time to be done with so that we can get back to some semblance of normalcy. And I guess this is another duality thing. And I guess this is another conflicted point. It's like on the one hand, you're burned out, you're sick of it, like you're just so tired of hearing the same things and the lying and the gaslighting and all the information. It's like information overload all the time from sources who oftentimes are not trustworthy. You don't know what information is true and what's not and what to believe and what to think. And while all of this is happening to you, you know, while you're burned out and whatnot, you're still angry because things are not right, and you know they're not right because you look at how much you're spending just for basic groceries and it's through the roof. Or you look at your credit card bill at the end of the month and you go, but I didn't buy anything, I didn't go anywhere, why is it like this? And it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to have both of those things happening at once and just wondering, am I going mad? You're not, but I will go mad for all of us. I think the bottom line for me is that I actually want to get along with my fellow citizens, even if they think differently to me. And I want to live in a place where everyone is united in trying to be the best that we can be, have the most functional economy, have the happiest citizens, not get taxed to death and into oblivion. I don't want to be divided by race and class and sex and whatever other groups these people are obsessed with, this obsession with identity politics that I just wish would die. I want to have meaningful political conversations with other people that don't result in loss of friendship or getting screamed at or having a competition of who's the most hard done by. And honestly, I think the burnout is really a symptom of everything politically feeling like it's an emergency 100% of the time. And emotionally, I don't think I can take it anymore. I'm so over it. As worried as I am, as angry as I am, as much as I want change, I also just really want life to go on. And I'm honestly not super sure if any of this has made sense. This is probably a really, really disjointed video, and believe me, this is so hard for me to make because I have so many conflicting thoughts and ideas about all of this. But if I can leave you guys with, again, one central theme here, it's actually that life does just go on. And if you're feeling like I am towards all of this, all of these conflicting thoughts and feelings and whatnot, I don't think you're crazy, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with feeling like this. And if you are somebody who's actually hyped up and you're angry and you're fueled up and you're ready to go and do whatever, I mean, I'm not judging you either. I think that the last number of years have been uniquely challenging, kind of uniquely awful, actually. And I don't blame anybody who has come to this point and is just tired. Lord knows I am. So let me leave you all actually with a little bit of positivity for a change. Those of us who find ourselves living in the West, and particularly those of us who live in the United States, are extremely lucky. I think that we are really lucky to live in places where we don't have the normal sort of suffering and doom and gloom that takes place in other places around the world. And although our problems are still big problems and they have far-reaching consequences, I'm just really glad that I get to go to bed every night with a roof over my head in a reasonably safe country, and know that my family is going to bed also every night in a reasonably safe country. And I do think that no matter what transpires and no matter what's to come in the future, I'm actually really glad to know that there are enough like-minded people and enough people out there who, although we may not agree on everything, we can still come together when needed and when necessary to do what needs to be done to advance our own interests as individuals, but also as a collective. So maybe the takeaway here is that we should push and shove for the betterment of this country. We should push back against the ongoing stupidity, and we should be united in that pushback. But maybe we do that while realizing that things are actually not as bad as we often feel, and maybe we should do that while feeling grateful for being here at all.
I don't know, guys. I'm just trying to be positive for once, okay? Like, you know, it's not always doom and gloom here on the Hell Gondola.
Anyway, guys, on that note, I hope some of that made sense. I don't know if I feel better having said all of this. I don't know if you guys feel better having listened to this. Maybe you're just like, wow, Sydney's insane. She's lost the plot. But like I said, we will return to our regularly scheduled programming in the next day or so. I have a couple videos coming, but I just wanted to sort of put some thoughts out there on this election. And I just kind of want to know if everyone else is as burned out as I am, because I won't feel quite so crazy if you guys say that you also are burned out. So there is that. On that note, stay safe and well, my wonderful, pretty, beautiful people. Try not to go mad as we go into hearing the election results and everything that is to come out of this election. Please stay safe. Please stay happy. Try to keep everything in perspective a little bit, because, you know, all these situations can feel really, really doom and gloom the more that we progress into them. And as always, I will see you wonderful, pretty, beautiful, strawberry people in the next video.